To learn the good, the bad, and the reality of the off-grid lifestyle, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. I know I said this in a previous video, but it's really hard to imagine that just a month ago, the entire property here looked just like that. And now we've gotten it, I'm just gonna swing it around. Now we've got it looking more like a lawn. The trailer, I would say 3/4 of the trailer is now complete. So I've got some boards set up here that I want to show you in a few seconds how the construction of the trailer is going to go. But as you can see, we have tore about 3/4 of this trailer apart now, and we've really got a lot of it cleaned up. So we're getting into the back bedroom and the bathroom now. This won't be any big deal. The section prior to this, I don't know, it may have taken 6 hours to clean up. And I expect this to take about the same amount of time. Of course, there's a lot more roof section here that I got to get rid of, but I think I can just drag that over to the fire, let it burn up, and then we'll take the metal off of it after it burns up, and then we can recycle the metal. The bathtub, it's all metal, and I'm still contemplating, do we want a bathtub in our tiny house? And I'm leaning towards no, because that's just extra space. We don't have a bathtub in the camper, we have a shower that also converts into like a sink area where we wash our dishes, and that's kind of what I'm thinking with the tiny house. But if we don't have a bathtub, that's a metal bathtub, and we'll be able to sell it. Now, as I've said in previous videos, we'll probably cut the trailer frame right here on back, and I'll be able to scrap all that metal also, because this right here, when you come back here, is on the property line. Prior to 2004, you could build right up to the property line. In 2004, they revised the codes where you have to be away from it a certain amount of feet, and I don't want to get too close to it, so we're going to cut it off right here. And so where you see the tape measure in that to here, we'll be able to have a porch or something, or we can actually expand out more. If we need to. Lots of metal though. I mean, we got a whole stack over here. And then we of course got that. So plenty of metal to maybe help pay us for our tiny house. I want to talk to you a little bit about the construction of the tiny house. There's been quite a few questions that I want to get answered. The tiny house, like I said, is going to go from the front of the trailer, where you see that front board, back to this tape measure. That's 16 feet. And then so it's 16 feet by 12 feet. So you see this wing right here, all the way across to the other side, that's 12 feet. The trailer itself is built exactly the way I'm going to build the tiny house. There's not much difference. Mine, I feel like, is going to be a little bit more solid construction, and it's going to be warmer. And I'll explain all this. So this board actually came off the trailer. This is what they use, 2x4. A lot of folks told me that you cannot use 2x4s because it's just not strong enough. Well, that's what mobile home trailers are made out of. On the tape measure itself, it's going to be upside down, you have stud indicators right here. So you see that red right there? That's where a stud will go. So you got a stud here on the wing, a stud here, a stud here. It's actually called a floor joist on the floor, and then another one here. So every time you see a red marker on a tape measure, that's where your floor joists are going to go, or your studs. Well, as you can see, every third or fourth, however you want to look at it, stud has a wing. So what you're going to see here is a stud connected to a border over to the next wing. And so in here, you're going to have 2 floor joists, because you got this to hold it steady, and then those will tie into this. I do know, I've been in trailers before, that the floor can be a little bit bouncy. And a lot of people kept saying, you can't use 2x4s, you're going to have to use 2x6s. Remember, I'm trying to budget this in at $5,000. I've got it all worked out. And so the more lumber cost I have to spend, the higher the price is going to be. So using a 2x6 is going to raise my price. Now, granted, a 2x6 is much stronger. So what I'm going to do to overcome this problem is I'm going to put a brace in the center of the floor joist. So what is that, 5 feet the most? There is going to be no bounce there. So, and what I'm going to use here is the lumber that came off the trailer. Back here, you're gonna see, and I got more to come off, obviously. I still got 3/4 of the trailer to do. I've got tons of lumber, 2x4s, that have already come off. They're not in the greatest shape, but they don't need to be, because they're just going to be sitting here. That's all they're gonna do. I'm not gonna staple them. I'm not going to secure it to the trailer because this is already secured to the trailer. So you will see on these wings, there are bolt holes. And these are the bolts that came off of it. So this will screw right up to the stud and hold it in place. Now, for the studs that do not have wings, like this stud right here with the red, what you do is these things have little tabs on them right here. And so you take that tab and you set it like that and you screw that right into the 2x4. So every board will be secured to the trailer. The floor joist will be screwed right into the stud. So everything is going to be real solid. There's not going to be any bounce because I got plenty of support every 3 or 4 feet. 2x4s can be real strong at short distances, and that's exactly what I'm going to accomplish here. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insulate the floor. The thing I want to spend the most money on is insulation. I want to keep this thing super warm in the winter, cool in the summer. So in between the floor joists, I'm going to use, they recommend R13 for 2x4s, which is about what you need for winter heat. Because I know I'm going to be using wood heat to heat my house. But if you think about it, I don't have a lot of property to be cutting down a lot of trees. And so, one, I got a small house, so that won't use a lot of heat. And then if I super insulate it, that won't use a lot of heat either. And so if I can keep it really insulated, I won't use up all my trees in a couple of years. I'll be able to, get through my lifetime just cutting down, hopefully, deadfall. Trees fall down every year. And so if I can just keep up with the deadfall and not have to cut down trees, or the trees that I want to cut down, like these guys right here that are sitting over the house trailer, I can use that wood for maybe 2 or 3 years. That would be ideal to really minimize the amount of wood I have to use. And then conversely, in the summertime, air condition. The camper right now, I have an air conditioner in, I'm running it off solar panels. The camper is 6 foot by 6 foot, solar panels keeping up with it just fine. Well, of course, this is going to be 16 feet by 12 feet, so it's bigger. So, I'm going to have to make sure it's well insulated. I'm also going to make the walls out of 2x6s, not 2x4s, so they're going to be thicker. And that way, I can put like R19 insulation in there, and that'll really keep things warm. And the same thing in the ceiling. I'm going to really stack the ceiling up. When I owned a house before, I actually used that blow insulation. I'm thinking about doing that and making it so thick that you wouldn't have any heat escape through there. One of the problems that I ran into while we were tearing this apart was these front wings here were significantly bent in. Real far, you can actually probably see some of the bend here. I had to get that straightened out. And the way I did that was with a jack here. I used a jack. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, you should have hooked the truck up to it and different things. I was actually concerned about doing that because I didn't want to drag the trailer. The trailer's actually pretty light. Now there's nothing on it. So what I did was, I just hooked a 2x4 here. You can see the 2x4. Ran it up onto a brick. And then I just put the jack in between the 2x4 and the metal frame. And it pushed it right out, made it nice and straight. Previously, I was not able to lay a 2x4 on there and get it to where I can bolt it in. Now I can. So that's all straightened out enough that I'll be able to use it. But as I was using the jack, I was actually pushing the trailer up a little bit also. So I told you Carolyn is pretty sensitive to poison ivy in a previous video. She has gotten it all over neck, face, hands, legs, everywhere. And we couldn't figure out really where it was coming from because the leaves hadn't sprouted yet. Of course, there's ivy absolutely everywhere. It's just everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's ivy. And so the other day, for example, Carolyn and I were working on this fence right here. We were cutting it up, trying to get so we can get in here and clean this little area up. And of course, there was vines everywhere. Right here, is a vine. And you can see oil dripping out of it now that it's been cut. It's dripping, look at that, drip. Well, now the leaves are sprouting out. Leaves of 3, leave it be. Well, they're starting to sprout 3 leaves. And so yeah, that's either poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac, who knows. Whatever it is, it's all over Carolyn. So that's my plan with the tiny house. And I'm gonna invite you all along as we build it. Of course, we got a few months to get through this pandemic or whatever we gotta do, so y'all can see. Thanks for watching.